Norwich squad. One word.
I can't believe you just said that.
I don't even know who he is. Full back, centre mid.
Do you think we'll go down?
Big question. Ipswich fans are on tenterhooks here. So welcome back to episode 5 of Leman Lines, our academy podcast where we go from the classroom to the touchline. I'm joined again by Toby and Niall. Welcome back in.
Here again.
Lovely to be here.
Can't stay away.
I think it's the hat trick for you, isn't it, Toby?
It is actually, yeah. 3 in a row. Football related hat trick.
It is a football related conversation today. I think it's wants to be quite interesting. We're going to talk about Norwich City Football Club. That's why we asked you two in as Norwich fans. We're going to talk about VAR as well. I think that's were not. And I think it's with what's happened at the weekend. I think it's probably a good chance to talk to fans and get their opinion on what's happening at their football club. So I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting episode for people. So let's get on to our first section, shall we?
Absolutely.
Let's have it.
Okay, so gentlemen, after the weekend, we'll get on to that about Norwich. The first thing I want to ask Norwich fans is, and I want you to go back to the summer. What was the ambition of the football club? Where did we feel, or where did you feel as Norwich fans the club was going to be at this point?
Times were good in the summer.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to rewind because, I mean, the messages from the club were top 6 finish. You know, and it was the same last season, wasn't it, really? Top 6 finish or else it's a failure. And that's why, obviously, Johannes Hoff-Torp lost his job in the first place last year. But the recruitment looked good. We signed a lot of players in the summer. Often that isn't the best idea to sign loads. But, you know, on paper, and, you know, you look at the YouTube videos of all of them before, they all looked like decent quality players for decent amounts of money. So we're sat there thinking, do you know what? Yeah, top 6
I think
is probably the ambition.
It was... The dream was sold a bit, wasn't
it?
But I think it was a big transition because obviously with Didier leaving mainly, there was hope. But I think genuinely there was that feeling that we could kick on again. But then again, we know how hard the Championship is, and you know you got teams like Birmingham coming up with money, and you know it's relentless. But it did seem, you know, and the signings seemed and appeared at the time to be a move and step forward for the club already. So it was It was optimism, wasn't it?
Yeah. And we haven't mentioned it yet, but the appointment of Leman felt like a good appointment. I remember having a conversation with you, and he was the name on your lips almost straight away. Good coach, decent track record. You know, we were all thinking, if this man can get Bristol City in the top 6 with the resources there, well, look, surely that's minimum expectations with a bigger, dare I say, football club with a better squad at the time. So
I think
it felt good.
He also met, you know, he's local as well, and I think when you lose figureheads like Michael and Didier, the club has always been about, you know, it's always been termed a family club, hasn't it? And it was like Manning brought that back and that emphasis on him too. So you knew you had someone coming into the job who lived and breathed Norwich as well. So I think that was a key part of it as well.
Yeah, I felt like that was just a massive buy-in, really, from everybody.
Yeah. Optimism.
Yeah.
So what drastically, has changed? We look at Norwich where they are now, and of course Manning's been released this weekend.
Yeah.
So what's been going wrong? I mean, I've been watching all those games. Is it the football that's been going wrong? What is it? What do you put Ferguson on to begin with?
For me, it's the $1 million question. At most weekends, I've been asking myself, what is the problem? And when you keep asking yourself that, you realise that it probably is a mixture of everything, isn't it, really? I don't know. The name, obviously, that comes to mind for probably both of us is Ben Napper, the sporting director.
I think so.
I think he's probably... I think the blame probably lies, not solely, but mostly with him because of the fact... I think he's now been with us 2 years, right? I'm thinking just over 2 years.
Yeah.
And if we look at he's the sporting director, so look at the club 2 years ago, what's really changed in those last 2 years? We've probably got a worse playing squad. The recruitment has been worse than what it was back then. No one's really been improved. We've now gone through 3 head coaches under his reign and really regressed after every single one. So that's, to me, who the main finger is pointed towards.
I agree. And I think one side of the coin is refreshing. I think that, you know, the first name that fans have chanted rather than Manning has been Napper.
Yeah.
So the refreshing side of it, I think the default mostly in football, right, is to call for the manager's head as such.
Yeah,
right?
and Jurgen Klopp talked about that recent podcast, didn't he? He said, if you, as a manager, you have to accept when you're winning, everyone thinks you're great. When you're losing, everyone thinks you're terrible. And when you're drawing, everyone thinks you're boring. So, of course, fingers always get pointed at managers first. And I think if you step into that realm, you understand that, don't you? But I think it has to be other people responsible, sure.
You know, but then the flip side of that coin is, again, football's changed and, you know, models of professional clubs have changed. The sporting director is now directly involved in the playing staff and those decisions, when before it tended to be the manager.
But it was the manager, wasn't it?
You know, you look at the Redknapp days and people like that, they were the ones that recruited the players.
They did everything.
But why has it changed? That's sometimes my question is, will you accept that actually a manager has to have a track record of some sort of experience of being somewhere and done something A, B or C? We don't have that for those sort of sporting directors.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, isn't it?
He's the one signing the players.
This was the key thing that I want.
Really interesting aspect, isn't it?
Because
was it manning squad?
Well, this is it, isn't it?
Or how much involvement did he have?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yet he's the one terrible. No, I'm not saying he's been great. I'm not
and
going to say that.
It's certainly not without blame, because we've now gone, I think it's 8, isn't it? 8 home games, certainly. And as a season ticket holder, it pains me to say it.
Well,
I've only been there for 6 of them as well.
I think he's lost the last 7 in the last 8 games.
But the one of only 3 teams in history to lose their first 7 or 8 home games, right?
Correct.
And the only championship side ever to lose.
Yeah.
So
it's groundbreaking.
From that,
it was record breaking.
From that track record. But I think I go back to what I said, right, about being sold a dream. I think there's, like in any business, okay, for success, there's been fundamental flaws in all of it. And I also think, I said Anastasia the other day, I can't remember his name. Atanasio, right? Listening to him come over and speak on the radio when he had his interview on that, and just gain an understanding of him, I think he doesn't grasp the concept of English football.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah,
so
agreed.
That's a fundamental flaw, that someone's come in and has obviously straight away had a big say in everything that happens in the football club, and it's had a legacy for so long. 2, the fundamental flaw, going back to what you were saying about Ben Napper, he was unproven. He was part of Arsenal's youth setup, right?
He was loans manager at Arsenal. So how do you go from being a loans manager to being a sporting director running a whole football club?
And anyone can come with, you know, like you see managers rise, okay? Like, you know, you look at like Danny Roll, for example, who's now gone on to Rangers, is now starting to turn it there. Like, fairly inexperienced.
It's rare that happens.
It is, but, you know, and there's a punt taken sometimes on managers, but this is a significant role now within football clubs. And actually, going back to what you said, that the finger needs to be pointed more or mostly at him, because he's been quiet. Communication within the club that's been lacking.
The worst thing for me. It's just the lack of communication. When Atanasio, and for those who don't know, Atanasio is now the owner of the club, effectively. So US Ownership Group, Norfolk Holdings Group, I think is the name of them, and obviously replaced Delia and Michael Wynne-Jones as majority shareholders. And he did a Radio Norfolk interview that you referenced the other day, and there were several instances where he said, you know, Ben Napper will talk to you about that. Yeah, you'll have to talk with Ben about that. And radio silence, we've heard nothing from Ben Napper at all, apart from the club's finances. Did you look at those? So the club's finances came out just a few days ago.
Right.
And there was a little spiel in there from Ben Napper, just a little foreword, that basically said, and this is so out of touch with where we're at right now, it basically said, we're really happy with where we're at. Liam Manning is the man that's going to be in charge. We see this club as, you know, and sort of put a plan together within this financial document that said we're going to be an established Premier League club, and it was like, we're nowhere near that. No. We are nowhere near the ambitions that this club set out.
It's not
2 years ago when he first joined. So,
you know, and I think, you know, as well, I'm a little bit mixed, because they put plans together a few weeks ago, like over the last couple of weeks, about the stadium rebuild, and like, personally, you have to have ambition, right? And you have to kind of go with the modern world, the modern game. Yep. And I personally thought the fundamentals behind that were brilliant. I thought it was going to bring an atmosphere to Carrow Road. It was going to be in line with, you know, the culture of modern day football. You know, rather than have fans scattered around the city before and maybe even after the games, they're there. And do you know what? And that was one thing. I went to Birmingham away last year when they were. No, the year before, when they were trying to stay up. It was the last day, I think it was last day. Last day of the season. And they'd created a fan hub there at the stadium, and it was amazing. And I think Norwich has always been known for fans that back the club. The tendencies have always been brilliant. Yeah. And I think the aim of that was to take that to a new dimension. But it was how they done it where the flaws were. And again, it's another flaw. And another flaw in the Napa, you go back to what you were saying of the playing staff. I've tried to recently, I spoke to you last week about it, is that trying to identify what players are Mannings and what players were Napas. And from my point of view, from what I could see in my summary of that, is that probably Manning's ones are probably fit for the side and probably could take us somewhere where the Napa ones are the ones that are in question. But no one's going to know who's who.
The thing is,
because we're not part of it.
If you go back a few years, I mean, Norwich haven't always spent the money or had the money to spend.
Correct.
I think if I was a Norwich fan right now, what would frustrate me is we're spending the money, but we're not bringing what doesn't appear to be quality.
We've had a track record really in recent years of bringing players in for budget fees. You've got to look at
Pookie was a great find, wasn't he?
Pookie, Buendia, all of these players that we brought in for next to nothing, and apart from Pookie, sold them for a fair amount of money. And it's like, well, actually, we're in a position now where the players that would be in that position, Gabi Sarah's another one who we've sold recently. You've got Ante Cernac, you've got Mate Jurisic. There must be others that I can think of as well.
Forson's one.
Forson is one that you think, oh, okay, they're just going to follow that same model and be able to sell those on for profit. They're nowhere near it, those players. No. Nowhere near it.
No.
And you look at a Borja Sainz and a Gabi Sarah, who actually in their first season didn't necessarily perform that well, but second season they've really stepped it up. Well, now lots of these players are in that second season. You can maybe group Oscar Schwarte with that group as well, and they're just not stepping up at all. And now we're in a position where we've got all these assets, and you're thinking, okay, this cyclical nature, sorry, I can't get my words out, of us buying and selling, that just comes to a stop now. There's no one really other than your Josh Sargent, who isn't a Napa or a Manning signing. He's a Webber signing, right? He's the only one right now that we'd be able to shift for a reasonable price.
Yeah,
so
Burnley
it's going backwards.
Still interested, aren't they? That's what I've heard.
Yeah. I think it'll be tough probably still to keep him in January. Whether his transfer fee is altered, probably, with the situation. But I think, I can't remember who I was speaking to, but I think they'd factored in actually this summer selling him.
That was what Atanasia said on the...
Oh, yeah, that was that.
On the Canary call,
they'd factored in their plan to sell him, and they've still got him, and they've spent. So it's like, and they've continued to spend, and they've not used that as a buffer. Like they've continued to do that, and for me, for the first time really in a long time, there's been grumbles. There's obviously been fans that have aired their opinions.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about.
But if you look at Sheffield Wednesday, that's the first time I've ever really seen, certainly over probably
I can't remember
decades away.
But the last time I saw something like
it's
that,
anger now as well.
Just
really
before Lambert was appointed, Brian Gunn was the manager. I remember you lost to someone. It might have been Colchester.
It was 7-1. Yeah, it was 7-1.
And one of the fans come on, ripped his
season
to Brian, didn't he?
But that didn't feel as bad as what it does now. I don't know.
That was a one-off, one person. The last two games, you said you had blocking it after the Sheffield Wednesday game, wasn't it? The fans were on the pitch and were being very vocal, and then you saw it again after the Leicester game.
Yeah, it was protests outside the city stand of Carrow Road. It's just ugly and it's toxic. And going back to the point you said about us being a family club, right? That's what we are at our heart, and this is nowhere near what that represents.
So what are Norwich going to have to do? I mean, we got to try and finish this section on a positive. Because I think when you're a fan, I think people appreciate emotions are involved. So everyone gets like this, we understand that. But now, what would you as fans like to see the club do to try and rectify? I mean, manager approach to things.
Go get Daniel Farke.
Please, can we?
Was that a massive mistake?
100%. And I think there's a big part of me, not a big part, there's a percentage of me that now thinks, well, actually, the Manning situation might be the same as Farke. I know that the stats and the data is what it is, and the records are what they are in terms of what we haven't done at the start of the season, but we made an error by getting rid of Daniel Farke, and I think the accountability is on the players, more than anything now. I don't think there needs necessarily huge change. I think we need someone established who knows what they're doing, probably experienced in the helm.
Yeah.
One. Yeah. Two, just the accountability of the players. Like, one thing I wanted to say on here today is I look back at Leicester's goal, okay, we're defending a lead, and this is where you say whose fault is it or who should be accountable. Harry Darling, a centre-half who's meant to be all singing and dancing, has literally just watched a situation unfold, their striker get the ball and just stood there and watched it.
Yeah. He is completely, he's a shadow of the player he was at the start of the season.
And that's
it's
the
just
question
completely devoid of confidence.
Who is
What's
that? Is that
caused
him?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that him? Is that Manning? Is it the backroom staff?
Is it him not playing
it,
for Manning? Do you know what I mean?
Is it
a
fan
coming
thing?
to it? Yeah.
I think the question, I suppose, is.
You said you wanted to end on a positive as well.
I know, but I like the fact you talk about how, because I think the most important. The next big appointment is going to be who's going to put. Let me say my words. Who they're going to put in the chair.
Yeah.
But the argument would be who are you going to tempt into that role currently with the playing squad and position they're in.
Would you like O'Neill?
Absolutely. But why would O'Neill come to us? Why would he's just
turned
down the Wolves job?
But he was also turned down the summer.
If he's turning down the Wolves job, is he really going to be looking at that championship table and thinking, "God, yeah, fancy a bit of that"?
O'Neill and Pep Linders were two of the other people when Manning got the job.
I would love him. I just don't think we're in a position. I really hope I'm proved wrong, where we can really appeal to one of those bigger names.
Yeah, potentially.
Right. People are throwing out Carrick. People are throwing out Brendan Rodgers. I think was probably the favourite one. But that's a weird one, wasn't it?
I saw that.
So Gary O'Neill. I don't think any of those would come to us.
I think O'Neill would.
Do you think?
I do. I think he's very shrewd. I think he obviously the Wolves scenario for him. I think he learned a lot, and I think that's probably maybe why he didn't go back there, because I think he probably identifies where the club's currently at.
Yeah.
Not saying Norwich is not in a similar situation,
exactly,
but personally, I think there's more hope probably in Norwich than there would be him going to Wolves, and there's less pressure, I think, as well. And you don't know what happened behind closed doors at Wolves with him, do you?
So exactly. Yeah.
You know, I would like him too. I think lots of people would.
I'd love him, absolutely love him.
And that brings that stability, I think. He's not necessarily as experienced, but I think he's the right character just to stay. I think me and you have spoken in the office. You know, stability is needed first, and I think he stabilises things, and then hopefully move forward.
Well,
if we can get.
I was going to say, let's not beat around the bush. Yeah. We're in a relegation scrap.
That's it, isn't it? Really, you're in a dogfight now.
That's it. We need someone that's got that track record of being in one of these situations before. I don't know, Gary O'Neill.
You need to find the Sam Allardyce.
Really yeah, this is it.
You need to find that person who's been in the battle.
We joke, but Warnock has been a name that I've heard. It's like, well, actually, would I take Neil Warnock right now? Maybe.
Yeah.
And that just shows how far we've regressed as well, that we're now thinking that would be a decent appointment.
Yeah, because you don't want to drop again, do you? You're a team that had aspirations of getting back in the Premier League. You don't want to be dropping to League One, do you? No disrespect to League One.
No, I know exactly, but we've seen clubs stay in that division. Ipswich for one, right, for a long time.
I think it's really key, isn't it? And I
noticed you got that one in there. Good
one. Had to.
Sorry, Ipswich fan.
Not sorry.
No, that's it. I think the management appointments have got to be vital. But then what would you say is the next main priority the club has to address to get the unity of those fans back?
It's hard again to not say Napper, but then if we were going to get rid of Napper, he would have gone immediately, basically after Manning. He's not going to go. So it's all very well me saying that's the next step. I don't think it's going to be.
No.
So for me, it's just buy-in. It's buy-in from everybody at the club towards this squad of players and whoever is in the hot seat next. And good luck to them.
I think it's to be seen and heard. Leicester released a statement, didn't they, before the game on Saturday? Yeah, and they said, look, it's not good enough. Like, you know, we're an established club that should be in the Prem. We know that. We feel that. And even though they're struggling a little bit, but obviously beating us, they've gone now back in the top half now.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So you know, it's about if they're really serious about connecting back, Napa needs to be seen. Anastasia, he needs to be there. Like, you know, if you're serious about your role, Norwich fans will want to see him at every game if he can possibly be there. I know he's got other business interests, but actually, like you say, the buy-in, visibility, being seen and heard, I think is really key, and that transparency of this is our vision, this is what we're going to do about it, and we're here standing tall for it.
And taking accountability too. Yes. But we don't expect Napa, I'm sure he will come out at some point and say something, but we don't expect him to come out and just say it's all rosy, you know, look at this new vision type thing. We want to be able to hear him say, this is where we messed up, and just to talk to us as a human being would talk to us. That's it.
Yeah.
We want to be able to connect to him on the same level.
Yeah, fans always want to know what you're doing to help us out of this situation.
Yeah,
that's what fans want, isn't it? So I think that's the interesting thing, and what the club do next, and how quick these appointments come. I think it's going to be vital, isn't it?
Do you think we'll go down?
Big question. Ipswich fans are on tenterhooks here.
It's this.
Is Gorbal going to say it?
Again, I don't like Darren Kent, and I said this in terms of him commentary on when he commentates Radio Norfolk. But there was a stat that stood out to me, which was at the Sheffield Wednesday game that, you know, that the Prem ball ballpark figure is 40
I
points.
saying this, yeah.
And the Championship's 50. So we're sat on, are we 8? 9?
Nine,
No,
I
9.
think,
I mean,
9
9.
points, yeah.
We're sat on 9 points.
41
and
to go.
You got to think,
where are they coming from?
Where do they come from? Because you get into the same old thing. Oh, it's fine. Look, we're 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points away, 2 wins away, we're out. But when you're in that, you can't get out, and you're there because that's the scenario. And again, looking at the Norwich squad, they're not, in my eyes, they're not fit enough. We're slow. We're now in that ilk of teams where we are in a relegation battle, but no, I don't think we'll go down.
Same. He said end on a positive. There we go, yeah. We are staying up.
Stick with the heart. Yeah.
So let's move on to something else I've got to ask you a question about. VAR. Now, I don't know about yourself. When they first talked about introducing this to the game of football, my first thoughts honestly were, this is going to solve a lot of issues. You remember the goals like in the World Cup where Lampard scored and wasn't disallowed because no one knew it crossed the line. And goal line technology was such a massive step forward, I felt. And when they talked about bringing VAR in, I can say for myself, I thought, right, this will hopefully help the game go forward. But sitting here now, do we feel that?
Sounds like you don't.
I definitely. No, I'm disappointed.
That's like a loaded question. Yeah. I have an opinion.
It probably is. It probably is. But I've got an agenda in. It's one of those things. I don't know about you. I don't know if VAR's had the positive impact that people hoped it was going to have.
It definitely hasn't. It's an interesting one sat here as a Norwich fan because we've now had a few seasons without VAR, but we've still experienced it as a fan in a stadium. And for me, the worst bit about it is if you're there live at a game, it just kills it to a certain extent. If you're there in the moment, you think your team's just scored a goal, you want to be able to celebrate knowing that, you've gone 1-0 up. And for me, it's just that sort of slight, thought in the back of your head, oh, that could get ruled out for whatever reason, or they're looking to rule it out for whatever reason. Because I think, at its heart, like you said, it is a good idea. I love the concept of it. It irons out all of the mistakes, and we'll get on to clear and obvious shortly, I think, possibly. But I can't help but feel that it is killing the game, and it's wanting to rule out goals, and it's attacking it from that angle rather than doing what's right for the rules and regulations.
Well, as we sit here today, I think it ruined one of the fixtures that everyone will probably, certainly as a neutral fan, but in terms of Prem, ruined yesterday's game.
Yeah.
Again, football's subjective, right? We always say that. It's full of opinions, and that's what makes it the beautiful game it is. But I thought, the Newcastle game, sorry. The Newcastle game I was watching yesterday.
Right, okay.
Right? And Dan Burns being sent off. I don't think he should have been sent off, but
I've not seen it, so
VAR was central to that. There's 2 challenges. The first one, I personally think, Dango.
Yep.
I think he was involved in both of them. I personally feel he's dived the first time, which he got booked for.
Right.
Okay. Ref gave a penalty to begin with, or he dived, got booked. The second one, because the home crowd has put pressure on that situation for the ref. Maybe he feels I've got it wrong, even though VAR's been involved in it.
Right. Okay.
The second challenge, he's not even touched him. He's gone over. I don't think it's a pen. 1, 2. If anything, he's simulated it again. 3, Dan Burns shouldn't be sent off, and they got a penalty and gone on to win.
Well, and if he simulated it again, second yellow for simulation, it's like complete polar opposite.
It's ruined the Premiership game of football.
There's games.
It's frustrating.
And I'm saying this as well. I mean, I'm a Liverpool fan, as you know, Toby, and Liverpool were poor yesterday. There's no arguing about who were the better side. I'm a big believer in. Sometimes you get what you deserve in football, and sometimes you don't. We understand that. Liverpool weren't at the races. However, I still sit here now thinking, was Andy Robertson really interfering?
So,
to me, that's a good goal.
I think it's a goal.
Yeah, agreed.
But
massively so.
Isn't, again, you said about clear and obvious. I think there's a rule, isn't it, that if it's within 10 yards of like peripheral vision,
right,
then of the goalkeeper,
okay,
then I think it's 10, something like that was probably the rule that meant that was still deemed offside, because VAR would have...
That is the rule, is it?
I don't know. I believe so. Someone told me that, and I'm not sure if it is in the rule book or not. But that's been another one that's been made, probably because of these scenarios. But Liverpool fans, you moan about anything, don't you? If you're not winning, you find an excuse. That's the same thing.
I like to be a realistic fan. You know what I mean? I'm not one of these fans who just picks. I've said, as you know, since the summer, I've not been convinced with the Liverpool side. I think I've said to you after pre-season, I wasn't convinced with our defensive shape, and I haven't been convinced that Arne Slot knows his best 11 or how to get them all in, and that's what it looks like to me. So I'm making no excuses. Man City deserved 3 points yesterday. Not arguing with that because Liverpool were average.
But it's the manner. If you go 1-1,
that would have been 1-1.
Yeah,
it could have changed everything.
Exactly, goals changed.
And it was a goal. I'll give you that. It was a goal.
I think it was a goal. And what I don't understand with VAR, and this is the part that I maybe struggle with myself when we talk about just the system, is one game that seems to be given and another game it isn't. So
there's too many grey areas.
When are we applying this rule and when are we not?
Yeah.
So it wasn't too long ago. Man City got away with one of those goals where they scored it themselves. I can't remember who it was against.
And that's the issue, isn't it? Because there's scenarios where it's different every time. The decision is different. The outcome's different.
Yep.
But for me, I think it's two factors. One, the issue is it's because it's the biggest sport in the world. I think that will always be an issue.
I mentioned that to you off camera, didn't I? Actually?
So it's viewed and watched by X amount more of people across the world and within this country than other sports, rugby, cricket, whatever it may be. So I think that's always going to be an issue because you've got X amount of people with opinion. Yep. Two, I think in rugby, for example, rugby union, you've got a very clearly defined set of rules for almost every aspect of the game. Yeah. So if a try is scored, there's nothing really whether it's subjective or opinionated almost in that, unless there's a situation where they go over the try line and there's a bundle and they can't quite see if it was held up or whatever. Yeah. But they've got a good enough sway in the rules to actually have their decision backed. So that's the other issue is that, like you say, there's too much of grey area, and they're formulated by people that haven't got a clue, in my opinion. Yeah, and this is what I was talking to Niall about, and this is what the little bit that concerns me, because I do agree with you. If you look at what is the biggest sport worldwide, people could well argue football, and I think that's very hard to disagree with. But you look at rugby union and their TMO system, you look at cricket and the third umpire, you look at Hawkeye and tennis, you don't see inconsistent application of rules, though, do you? But there is no grey area because I don't want to blame human beings because that's too lazy in my opinion. But maybe the point you said is quite interesting. Is it that actually there's too much grey area with the rules?
Yeah, I think so. I think you say you don't want to necessarily blame human beings, but I think one of the main differences between VAR and those other three systems that you've said is they are very much more technology led, whereas this is more human led. Sometimes you'll hear, won't you? Howard Webb, isn't he? He's the head of PGMOL, yeah, he is, and they'll do that thing sometimes where they release the audio from the VAR room. That's always eye-opening to me because it's just a cacophony of voices just chatting over one another, trying to figure things out. You'll have incidents sometimes which are really confusing because there's multiple bits to try and process, and it just sounds as if that room is so chaotic, right? When you've said actually they're not necessarily the right qualified people to do the job. I would say 90% of incidences that you look at on football pitch, common sense will prevail. You'll be able to say, like that goal yesterday, we'll be able to say, that's a goal. You know what I mean? All they need, was he? And this has been an argument for a while, all they need in that VAR room are ex-professionals, right? Ex-professionals, people that know the game, to be able to take one look at an incident like we are and like the majority of the fans are, and just to say, that's a foul, that's a goal, that's not a goal, instead of a panel of 4 or 5 people and the referee and the fourth official and the linesman's all trying to get involved with this same decision and just clouding the thoughts. Because the poor referee on the pitch, that job is hard enough anyway, right? But when you've got so many people trying to talk in your ears, trying to influence your decision, trying to send you to the screen to do this, it seems to be the impossible job, and I think it's more human and less technology.
It is difficult though because take that goal yesterday. It's an offside goal, right? That's why it was ruled out. Yeah. An offside from a rules perspective is totally different in rugby. It's easy. There's more clarity on it. Full stop. Yeah. Because of the nature of the sport and the setup of the sport.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
So it is challenging then for a VAR system and the people that are involved in it because. You look at that yesterday, I'm sure probably 80+% of people are going to look at that. Van Dijk has headed that football. Donnarumma has reacted in the timing that is there. Andy Robertson is there rather than there. And he has reacted. He wouldn't have reacted any different if Robertson was there or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah.
that's like you say, that should be, even though there are variations in the rules, that there should be a consistency to that they are qualified, which surely they do. I'm aware that obviously they have their days where they spend together, but how is there so much disparity in their knowledge and understanding? That's the issue. So then you go back to the quality of actually the referees, which has always been up for contention, and the reason why VAR was there in the first place as well. So that's an area too where refs in rugby I think are fantastic.
Oh,
more often than not. And there's that. And again, that's a culture thing. And that, again, you go back to the fact that it probably isn't, statistically the most viewed sport in the world.
Yeah.
Football comes with a certain culture, which it's going to be hard to shift nowadays, right? It's going to be. Yeah. You're not going to get that same level of, you look now when they stand there, we've got this Americanized, they stand and announce it to the stadium. Like,
so funny
that's not needed. It's
someone's going to make a mistake.
Like, someone's going to throw their yellow flag in. Where are we going down? What route are we going down? We want to keep the traditions of English football almost.
Yeah, of course. I think it's because people were moaning at the time, or not, I say people, I mean fans were saying they didn't know what was going on. It goes back to your earlier point now, because you're standing, you might be in the stand thinking, well, for 4 or 5 minutes, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that's the issue. That's the issue for me as a fan who goes to stadiums. The one thing I will say, just based off the last point, when you look at football as a spectacle, you say about it being the most viewed sport in the world, right? Which I think is correct. What is the biggest stage of all? Well, it's the World Cup. It's the World Cup, it's the Euros, it's major international tournaments. We don't have these same VAR issues.
Yeah.
Not on the same level and consistency at the World Cup and at the Euros. So what are we doing wrong that they're doing completely right?
The biggest winner was the semi-automatic.
Yeah.
That was I felt that was the best change in the last...
Yeah, agreed.
That was Euros, wasn't it? Was that to come into Euros?
I think so, yeah.
It was in Euros. Time and efficiency ticked both of those.
And it's taking the
boxes.
human element out of it again, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think it's
assuming that is right.
This is go back to maybe our point then a little bit, because if you look at rugby and cricket and tennis, they use the same system everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is that not the case here?
Yeah.
We have our own version, they have their own version, and this is the problem that's maybe hindering the progress, is it?
Potentially.
Yeah. I believe so. Yeah, I think so. Because to gain consistency, right, you need to have that on all level playing fields across all
professional football.
All professional football in reality. And again, from a budgeting finance point of view, surely that's doable, right?
Well, you'd think
I'd
money
imagine so.
in football.
I'd imagine so. Yeah.
Surely.
But they can do it because I think FA Cup now, it's a thing from the third round onwards. Is that a thing, I think, possibly, where they've got VAR? But it used to be that it would only be at grounds where they had VAR. Do you remember that? There was there was one season, I think City might have played away at Swansea. Despite it being the same competition, they didn't have VAR there because the stadium didn't have it. Or it might have been goal line technology at the time. But it's we need that consistency. And again, we spoke off camera just about I'm sure in Europe and across South America, there are loads of competitions that have VAR. Lots of first divisions, second divisions, third divisions. You look at a division like the Championship, which is probably a top 10, top 15 league in the world, and that doesn't have it. So why don't we have it? And why do other leagues have it? And where's that consistency?
And that's amazing, considering the amount of money a club can get from going from the Championship to the Premiership.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it leads us now to have our final section, which is our quick fire round. So I've got some questions for you that I want you to answer, if that's okay, James.
It's been lovely.
The world famous Garth quick fire round.
First question.
I'm shaking already.
One player at Norwich you believe is undervalued?
Ooh, this is good. Okay.
Undervalued player at Norwich.
We haven't got many.
At Norwich
right now. The easy option is to say a Josh Sargent, but then is he undervalued?
He's
not
undervalued. He's not. He's
I
definitely
think he's
now
absolutely brilliant.
He's definitely now not undervalued. Kenny McLean,
the run of form. Oh yeah, I think I'm going to have to agree with you on that front.
Kenny McLean, because I think again he's been respected and he's been he's been up there and spoken about, but I think for a good number of years he has been undervalued in the fact that a lot of people, I don't know, be careful what I say here, but from a personal point of view, a lot of people view the game of football and they don't really see the intricacies of it. I'll put it that way. That's quite politically well done. And he has been phenomenal, I think, in a number of our teams.
Yep.
With different managers. Yeah. And you've only got to look at Sheffield Wednesday the other night in a struggling side. His leadership qualities, even if they were a little bit borderline, one, were there. He's still fighting for the club. Two, his pass on his weak foot to set Sargent through for our goal is those moments that we talk about, decision-making and moments. Yep. And I just think he's stuck there with the club as well through thick and thin. He's gone up and down as the yo-yo goes up and down in the Prem back down to Championship, and I think Kenny.
I think he's such a positive role model as well. Yeah. You often hear
until you get promoted and you see him on the
balcony.
On the balcony with
we won't talk about that.
He's a
look
character
that up
well.
if you need to. Yeah. I think a lot of players and probably members of staff look up to him. Yeah. Obviously now he's seen it all, right? He's been with us. I don't know how many years he's been with us now. It must be approaching a decade. Do you think 7, 8, something like that? But he's been through with us, 4 or 5 managers effectively, sporting directors, ownership groups, and he seems to be the one consistent behind it all. And he makes it tick so much more than what we even see. So I'm going to steal your answer as well. I'll go with Kenny.
Go Kenny. Okay, favourite moment at Carrow Road in recent seasons?
Recent seasons?
Oh, that's tough.
I've opened it up a little bit. I've opened it up a little bit because I can't say this season.
I've stopped going a lot more recently as well. But stalwart there.
Yeah, I've got a few. It's tough when you say recent seasons because there's not really anything
moment,
like I say.
Favourite moment.
My favourite moment ever at Carrow Road. I'll flip the question. I'll give you that instead.
That's good.
Has to be another one for all you Ipswich Town fans out there. Or is it the playoff semi-final? No, I don't think it's the playoff semi-final. The moment for me is the Tim Closer equaliser at home against Ipswich many years ago now, when we thought what was a long run at the time, probably 12 years, potentially the unbeaten run.
Yeah.
Obviously it went on to be 16, something like that.
Getting some jabs in here, boys.
Yeah,
I know, getting some jabs in.
And Ipswich go 1-0 up, and that feeling as a fan, I hadn't really experienced that in my adult life as a football supporter, losing to Ipswich. Yeah. So when they go 1-0 up at our place in the 89th minute, I'm thinking, this is the worst feeling in the world. Only then to be saved by...
Especially Grant Hanley crossed it,
yeah, the Grant Hanley
centre half to centre half.
To Tim Closer.
Assist and
finish.
That
probably tops it for me. That's the moment.
So I'm gonna. This is still recent. Let's define recent. Recent is when we beat them.
Yep.
Last time.
Oh, what with the Nunes free kick?
Who?
With the Nunes free kick.
No, the boy's gone, isn't he?
Yeah, I can't believe you just said that.
I don't even know who he is. The reason why is because that's their cup final. They couldn't even win it, right? Like, they were supposed to win it, they couldn't, and that was the one time I've been probably in 5, 6, 7 years when there was the actual feel around the whole stadium back.
Yeah, and we've been lacking that massively.
An atmosphere, because as we always say, the fans back the club. They always have done. But in terms of atmosphere, maybe it's,
there was a buzz.
Maybe it's a part of time where I go back to when I was 16, 17, 18, and that to me was when there was that real, when we got to the playoff final at Cardiff, and those times that seemed to replicate that to me. So that must have mean that was good, and that was extending our wins against them and unbeaten.
We won't talk about that anymore. The unbeaten streak.
But my mind's blank from that point onwards. So I don't know what's happened in football or Norwich between now and then.
Okay, next question, gentlemen. If you could bring back one former player to join this squad now, who would it be?
Dean Ashton.
Oh, nice. Yeah, good show. I think Tino Pukki for me. We'll go Dean Ashton first.
I don't know. I just love Dean Ashton because he's on the tip of my tongue because that was going to be one of my moments. That was when Ashton was there and in his pomp, and that was a good time. But it's hard though because I think a Dean Ashton would fit our squad perfectly. I think he's exactly what we need in that position. He's a natural born talent, a natural goal scorer. His physical presence, everything about him, I just think, and he's not one of those bigger names that anyone else would probably say. Because my other was obviously Huckabee, but the game's changed since Huckabee.
There's so many names
there is,
around the head. There's so many. I feel like within myself, Darryl I've changed from one to one. That's a name, isn't it? Yeah. I might throw a rogue one out there, because it's very easy to throw in a Timo Pukki, a Grant Holt,
Grant Holt,
and Emi Buendia, someone like that.
Yeah.
Let's go
Jeremy
with an
Grant.
absolute bruiser in the middle of the park. Let's go with a Bradley Johnson.
Oh,
how's
yes,
that for
to
a
be
shout?
fair.
Because what a player he was,
Yeah.
and where we're at currently right now,
Okay.
he would sort it out.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
he'd sort it out. Loved him as a player.
Well, that leads nicely on to my next question, really, because I say if you could only sign one type of player right now, what would you prioritise? What type of players does the squad need?
It's probably a 10, isn't it, for me, I think? And a creative.
So even though you just told me
even though I just want Bradley Johnson.
I want
but that was the fun answer, wasn't it? I think it's a 10.
Well, you're not creating enough.
No, I think that's the issue. Behind Josh Sargent, he's just starved for any sort of service right now. I think we need a 10 or someone that can carry the ball and be creative just behind him, like a Buendia. I don't want to bring up Nunes again, but it feels like he was our only creative central midfielder. So someone like that.
Full back, centre back, centre mid, left winger, right winger.
Don't say striker. We don't need a striker. We're fine there.
If you're pushing me.
Brilliant.
See, that's a difficult one.
It is difficult
because
that's why I've asked it.
because you know how much I hate Kellen Fisher. The successful Norwich Championship sides, recent, Fark, we spoke about him. Those types of sides actually thrived off decent fullbacks.
Yeah.
And we've like you said, we seem to have no identity or philosophy in our play at the moment, let alone the playing staff to go and execute it. But I think we'd be all right centrally in defence. We've got enough there to build. So I do.
Do you think?
I do.
Yeah, okay. I'm not so sold personally.
But I think under a different manager, like go back to Harry Darling, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
Like he as a centre half should just be going and clearing that out straight away.
Yeah.
So if you get him doing that, what is expected and has been seen of him, he turns into a different animal.
No, you're right.
And that then brings other players on. Like I said to you about McConville. McConville on the fence, but he comes with a good pedigree. When we signed him, he looked a shrewd little acquisition.
Yeah, agreed.
He's just not had game time. So you start with them two, or you got Medic again on the fence. But I think we're solid enough there. But I think if you then build from that back, in the modern game, the modern successful sides that Norwich have had, with the era of inverted fullbacks and people that can bomb on or whatever it is, I think that position maybe, right back, left back, even though we have Mahovo, probably right back, even though we'll have Stacey as well, but he's just not dynamic.
It's a good shout, I think, yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, last question for you. One word to sum up the current Norwich squad. One word. No profanities.
Playing squad, or can we just talk about the football club as a whole?
That's two one-worders.
Yeah,
for two different things.
I'm happy to go with either of those, but I'd love to know
God.
if we're being realistic and we're talking about because I understand as a fan, emotions are involved and frustrations. I'm giving you thinking time here, gents.
You are.
That emotion gets better of us sometimes, don't we? We all get that frustration moment, and it's easy to say that what we think in that heat of the moment. But if I've said now, right, one word to sum up the club at the moment, what would you, if you want to make it more broad, or accept it for the playing squad? What would you say it is?
My club one, I'll jump in first, I think is just frustrating. It really is frustrating, the fact that we mentioned earlier, we can't really pinpoint what's wrong. We're not getting any sort of communication. We don't really know if the playing squad is an issue. Recruitment is a massive issue, but under a new manager, are they going to be any better? For me, it's just there's so many questions and I'm not getting those answers. And as a football supporter, I'm left feeling frustrated.
Okay.
Yeah, fair.
Non-identifiable.
I like it. Yeah, okay, yeah. I like
Explain.
it.
So, again, touched upon it earlier, is that, again, as a fan and I think as a club, it's just the identity that used to be Norwich City Football Club is just not there on a number of levels across the whole club, playing staff, to the back room, to the grounds.
Yeah, literally everything.
To all of it. And there was a really good culture and, traditional historic football club that was built, and it's just now a little bit soulless in that sense. So non-identifiable to what I've always known it as a fan.
That's really sad again, isn't it?
Yeah.
We said we were going to end on a high in the first section. I think we've ended on a low in the second section.
But it's realistic though, isn't it? Like, that's the position we're in. So,
yeah, it's good to be a realist.
There aren't really any positive, but end on a positive, I do think we're hoping to have enough to stay.
Well, the flip side to that is, if you're at the bottom, there's only one way to go, right?
Well,
as
not
a club.
quite the bottom.
No, as a club, I mean, if you feel,
you're right.
as fans, right, we are rock bottom.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, I'm a Liverpool fan. I remember the 90s. That's exactly how it felt to be a Liverpool fan.
And the 2000s.
Mate, exactly right. I remember coming out of the 80s, 70s, into the 80s, and Liverpool were the team. And then saw this period where we just were horrendous.
Yeah.
The only thing that kept me going through those periods were it's got to get better.
Yeah, things change in football. Football
Man
goes
United
through cycles,
fans must be
really?
like that now.
Yeah.
They had a period where they were the team.
Yeah,
Just going back
And
to
they're
your
just going
slot,
through a transition, aren't they?
just going back to your slot comment. I've seen a lot about. Look at Man United's managers, right?
Yeah.
None. I think it was Solskjaer. Who was in after that?
Ten Hag was it? After
Ten Hag.
Solskjaer?
Yeah.
Both of them lost less in a row than Slot did, but the scrutiny was on. Slot seems to be
Slot's got
getting
maybe,
away with it.
Yeah, but then maybe he's got that leeway because he won the Premier League last year.
One word to describe Liverpool at the moment.
This is good. This is how tough it is, Garth.
One word.
See?
Yeah, it's tough.
One word, Garth.
There's so many I could say. That's the problem.
Keep it clean.
Yeah. No, I think myself.
I'm loving this.
Yeah, I think for me it's.
It's Monday now, fast forward. And now it's Friday. More
Yeah.
thinking space.
Inconsistent.
Yeah.
Is the word I'd go, and I think that's a part of. Listen, Slot did an excellent job last year, better than anyone thought he was going to do. If we're also being real, it was Jurgen Klopp's team, and he didn't make any transfers. I think the club have shown an intent, and I think you forget some of those boys are young players they've signed.
Yeah.
I think that I don't know if they spent enough time thinking, how do I get all of those front 5, 6 attacking players in the same team? And I think at the moment there's a transition here where they're not producing the consistent level of football they've always done. Salah looks a little bit off the pace.
Really sad to see, isn't it?
Now that could be him getting a year older. That could be the impact of not having Trent behind him, who's been behind him for years. And that's
I
that
think
could
he's
be an
had enough
impact.
opportunities to still be the devastating player
And he hasn't done
has
it.
been.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think sometimes, this is what I want to see now, and this is what I'd like to see out of Klopp. This is my personal opinion. I think you've gone out, Ekatike's looked like a great signing. Wirtz, I think, you forget he's only 21, 22, isn't he? He's only a young lad. He looks like physically at times.
The price tag, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course, and that's tough.
Rooney was 16.
You always pay more when they're young, though, don't you? You always pay more when they're young, don't you?
Yeah, I know.
And, yeah, Maguire was 80, mate. Let's not forget that. But my point is there, I'm not sure at the moment the players they've bought suit the 4-3-3 shape they've been playing the last couple of years.
Okay.
So
and I transitional, I suppose.
And I think if you're going to have Ekatike and Isaac, I don't know if... I think you've got to be playing with the front two, in my opinion, but that's another story altogether.
Isaac will be very successful, I think.
In time, I think
very,
so.
very successful.
I think so.
Liverpool.
But I think the accusation, if I was Slot now, I think the accusation that probably the hardest to defend is, do you know who your best team is? And how? Because I don't know, I'm not convinced as a fan he does.
He knows it.
And that's saying that, I mean, listen, they're paid a lot of money to solve those problems and a lot better than I am to do it. But I think if I was part of that hierarchy at Liverpool right now, that's the question that I'd want addressing.
But I think it reminds me very much of that first Man City side when they spent all that money.
Yeah.
Because they spent loads of money, but there was no cohesion in the team whatsoever. And it didn't perform. And it's similar now because you've made very bold statements in terms of your spending.
Yep.
And it's just not gelling. Or, actually, like you say, how do you fit them players on the pitch? Like, that doesn't work in the systems that have previously worked. And that's the same situation as Norwich. And, like, you look at something like Newcastle have done under Eddie Howe, they had money, but they didn't necessarily go out and buy the best around Europe.
But they were under restrictions.
They were under restrictions. What would fit their style.
But I don't think he still would have. He'd have still stuck with his Dan Burns. He'd have still stuck at the time of the long staffs. And like,
it was Chris Wood they brought in as well, wasn't it?
Exactly.
I think at the time.
It's these players, and it's the same what Norwich are getting undone with now, is that, yes, you can go out and buy the talent of Europe, who are the age they're at and the pedigree and the what they're going to show and they can go and do, but championship drilled and championship experienced sides often do very well in the championship over the test of time and a period, and it's the same with the Premier.
Yeah, agreed.
I think so. I think so.
So where? One more question.
Go on, then.
Where do you finish this season? What position, Garth?
I think Liverpool have a tough job to get in the top 4 at the moment, the way they're currently playing.
Yeah.
I was not convinced. I mean, even start of the year, I've got a few mates of mine who are Arsenal fans, and when we were winning games in the last minute, now that to me, that isn't the sign. Weren't the same sort of performances when Man United were winning things in the last few minutes of a game. Liverpool were hanging on, and even that opening game against Bournemouth, I mean, let's be honest, it was not a good defensive performance from Liverpool, and that's been a reoccurring theme this year. And I think we got away with it sometimes. We had an all right game against Arsenal, and Szoboszlai scored a great free kick. No arguing about that. But Liverpool weren't devastating in that game. And my worry has been, I've said this to you lots of times in the office, Liverpool have looked good going forward on lots of times. Their record of their consistent goal scoring shows you that. But flipping heck at times defensively.
The other end,
Oh, yesterday, Konate needs to just clear it. And, he's missed it and is coming off Haaland.
And you get punished for those mistakes at the highest level. And I think that's the concern. But then I also think...
It's a poor Prem, though. Well, we're not a poor Prem. I think it's been... The bridge has been... The gap has been...
It's good to see. I say from a Prem neutral, because we are.
Clubs go through it. Man City last year were nowhere near it, were they? They looked better last night. I thought they looked good. They've been on a good run lately. I think maybe they're the contenders with Arsenal.
I think Man City will win it still.
I think Arsenal have been the most consistent side so far.
Yeah.
My worry with Arsenal is always goals.
It's Arteta for me.
And goals.
Well, and they haven't done it before. Well, they have, but a long time ago.
Yeah, I think and goals are an issue for me in that squad. They've got some great players that they've brought in around. You're talking about Norwich wanting a 10. I think they've got great players that can provide goal-scoring opportunities.
Yeah.
But they haven't got... For me, Gyökeres isn't that going to score you 25 goals.
I think Arteta will never win it for him. I think
it's an interesting show.
I think he's too rigid. I think he's been found out. Again, they are where they are. I'm sat here not managing a Premier League football side, but I think he's been found out over the seasons. You can just see how he plays, and he's too rigid in that, and he hasn't got the options to change.
It is working.
Over the course of the season, they've not won it. And they've spent the most, and they've not won it.
Yeah, that's for me where he falls short. But I think they do win it this season.
Hard to look past Man City, but I think Pep's gone. I think Pep's now gone through a cycle and a journey where I think he's now established. They look very solid. Now Guardiola and Diaz are in centre half. I think they look solid and they don't look like they're going to concede like they were.
Yeah, agreed.
O'Reilly's coming on. He's fresh. He's new.
He good. He did play well last night.
It's what they do, isn't it? When the inevitable Haaland injury strikes, because he always gets injured every season, and I'm not too sold. Doku had a sensational game.
He was excellent last night.
But I was hearing it's his first goal at home since January.
Well, I spoke
Ipswich.
to my son about it, and I said, listen, no one's doubted Doku's ability to play the game.
Yeah.
He doesn't normally put in those performances.
It's the end product.
Last night.
Yeah, it's the
normally
end product.
His end product is terrible.
Yeah.
Last night he was excellent.
Yeah, he did everything.
He did everything right, and his goal was excellent. But even without the goal, he was a constant menace down that one side. And if he can deliver that on a consistent basis, I think Man City be well up there.
So Arsenal.
I'll go Arsenal.
Man City.
Liverpool.
No, not Liverpool. No. I think Man City might nick it off them.
Oh, that's interesting. I love this. See you at the end of the season.
Yeah,
we'll have to recap.
A cod from the atrium is on it.
So that brings us to the conclusion of this episode. Thank you very much for your time, guys. And I know it's sometimes painful talking about clubs. I was just doing about Liverpool. When they're not playing well, it's tough. But I think sometimes it's good to be real about how we feel as fans. I think, you experience the good times, you experience the bad times, and having the forum to maybe express that is, I think, quite a good thing, in my opinion.
Therapy with Garth.
Therapy. We'll have to come back when we're doing a bit better, right?
And then Liverpool will still be in the doldrums.
Yeah, mate. Oh, dear. But yeah, no, I think it's good to talk about technology and the advancement of the game. I think we understand there's always going to be teething problems, but be able to talk about it and talk about ways we think it can be adjusted, I think it's really positive. So thanks again for your time. We look forward to seeing you again on our next episode 6. So remember, if you've enjoyed the episode, to subscribe on your favourite channel. Thanks again. Where are you?